Family problems. Now, I think most of us in our normal lives we would have some sort of conflict or some sort of problem sometimes with our families, and that's normal in any human being's life. But let me share you a good story today for our first episode of Manganerdho Analytics or Manganerdho Reviews. It's your boy Manganerdho, but today I'll be known as Manganerdho. Hey guys, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the first episode of the series. So as I was saying, I bet you've never heard something this crazy before. And even if you have, I there are a few cases out there. But today let me share you this one really horrific story that seems to be probably, I'm not too sure, inspired by a real life story created and written by the one and only man himself, Shuzo Oshimi, No Wadachi. So I'm just gonna dive straight into it. We'll be focusing on 5 lessons that we can learn from this manga, because I think the storyline, the plot itself is just beautiful, and I won't be talking about the whole thing here because I think you guys can go and check that out yourselves. Personally, I use Manga Reader on my phone and they have it there. It's still an ongoing project, still an ongoing series by Shuzo, so it's not completely finished yet, but I'll just recap kind of shortly to what the story has come up thus far. Alright, so for the first part, we'll be talking about the introduction. So, No Wadachi is a manga series written by Shuzo Oshimi, and if you guys still have yet heard of him, or his name is something new to you, he's actually the author and also the artist for Aku no Hana, or Flowers of Evil, Happiness, and a few other works. His stories usually relate with real life experiences, psychological horrors. Sometimes there'll be some fiction in there as well, but overall he's a very well known and I think pretty experienced thriller and horror artist aside Junji Ito. So Chino Wadachi actually means a trail of blood, or blood on the tracks, and it's been serialized ever since 2016 or 2017. I'm not too sure on that, but somewhere between that year. As for the characters, we have Seiichi Osabe. He'll be the main character. Basically a very mild-mannered, actually a very well-mannered boy at the start of the series, but as he finds out more about the secrets of his mother, Seiko Osabe, he becomes driven by the madness and the reality that he is about to be exposed to. Secondly, we have Seiko Osabe, the mom to Seiichi Osabe. She's a beautiful, intelligent Japanese lady, and she is at the same time also very cunning and manipulative. She's actually the antagonist of the story, and she uses her love, in which she disguises it as love, but it's actually some form of psychological torture towards her child. Then we have Ichiro Osabe. He is the father to Seiichi. I'll also regard Seiichi as Sei, as that is the nickname called by his mom, and it's a shorter and simpler term to call him by. Ichiro Osabe is, I would say, a hardworking father. Like any other Japanese man around his age, he's a businessman. You can usually see him at home in the start of the series in the morning before he heads to work. Then we have Fukishi Yuiko, the love interest for Seiichi. She's about the same age as him. At first, she was actually shy, but still able to talk to Seiichi. They both get along really well, and finally, nearing the end of the series, not nearing the end, but nearing the later part of the series, they actually confess their love to each other. Then we have Shigeru, the cousin to Seiichi. He's about the same age as Seiichi as well. A very playful and I would say naughty kid, but you know, he means no harm, but I guess he was the one to be harmed. So the story basically starts off with Seichi or Sei having a dream in which he actually thought it was a dream, but to his surprise, later on in the series, it's not a dream. He is having some flashbacks of some past memories that is hidden within the back of his mind. And the dream is basically him and his mom walking along this one road, and he finds himself a kitten in which he thought it was sleeping, but the kitten was actually not sleeping and it actually was dead. After touching it, feeling that it was cold and there was a few flies on it, Seichi actually came to the realization that the kitten is not alive anymore, and he asks his mom, why is the kitten dead? And the mom just looks at him and just smiles. So it gives off the whole vibe of the story there. So he wakes up from the dream and starts the day like any other Japanese family. So he heads down, has his breakfast. I think it was a steamed meat bun. His dad, you can see his dad there. The whole story is being introduced as the characters lay out their foundation. We have a few of his friends at school, the bullies, and then we have Fukishi being introduced as well. So fast forward, it's summer vacation, and now Sei is actually going on this one vacation with his family. So his family, of course, involves his mom, his dad, his aunt, his uncle, as well as his cousin Shigeru. So they go, and their grandpa. So they go on this hiking trip at Mount Chasuyama, if I'm not mistaken, and the whole family starts to bond and all, but a few remarks were made, and Seiko, who is known to be overprotective, gets worried when, after having lunch, Shigeru wanted to show Seichi the view from the cliff. So they were playing around and he wanted to push Seichi, in which he was about to actually trip. So Seiko made it in time to actually capture Seichi, and everyone was laughing because everyone was thinking like, yo, why is she so overprotective? And now Seiko and Seichi are just in awe. They were shocked, like, you know, how can you laugh at such a thing? And we can see Ichiro also just being amused at the back while smoking. So fast forward, they need to go to the loo. Sei and Shigeru actually head towards some bushes, and later Shigeru brings Sei towards this cliff. Now this is a different kind of cliff. So now he's playing on this cliff, and he wants Sei to come over to play with him as well. But Sei, of course, does not want to do that because he knows it's dangerous, and Shigeru continues to play until he suddenly trips. But actually he was just playing. He wanted to just like show a reaction to say that he was just overreacting. So after playing a bit more, he actually trips and is about to fall, but suddenly Seiko, the mom of Sei, comes and actually saves Shigeru just in time. So she hugs Shigeru within her grasp, not letting him go. And the readers will of course have this idea that she's gonna help him up, but to our surprise, she pushes him off the cliff. He is falling and he hits the ground, and you can see him with probably some broken bones, his knee injured, his neck bone broken, and all sorts of damage is done. And of course this is some crazy idea showing how much someone's remarks can really get to you. So of course we'll get into that later, but after seeing all of this, Seichi is of course he's shocked, he's scared. He asked himself internally, like, why is mommy doing this? Like, what just happened? And he goes to see that his mom is just smiling. Isn't that scary? So the story basically continues later on. I won't get too far into it because of course it's a very long story. So let's hop into the 5 lessons that we can learn from this manga. So lesson 1, of course, gaslighting is real. So it can happen to anyone and it can come from anywhere. And in this case, of course, it's coming from parental gaslighting. So this idea of using and having authority over someone just for your own um, wants or your own needs, that is basically gaslighting. So let's say you know that you have control over someone because maybe you're their boss, or maybe in this case you're their mom, and you know that you can use whatever power you have over your child just to do the things that you want. So we see this happening throughout the entire series. We see Seiichi actually going mad, and I don't mean angry, but yeah, angry as well, but mad as in crazy, while trying to live up to his mom's expectations and happiness, in which he actually was not able to live up to that happiness because his mom was just terrible, and she actually was not happy with Seiichi to start off with. She actually did not want Seiichi to be alive, and that was a very sad part of the series. And we can see actually Seiichi going into a mental asylum, or in the manga they call it like a psychiatric experimental detention ward or something, after he was being driven mad, him also killing his cousin. So these things actually happen in real life. So that's lesson 1. Lesson 2, if you are ever being abused by anyone, maybe bullies at your school, or if there's some sort of domestic abuse happening in your family, then please do not feel scared to reach out, because you know that the more you hold it in, the more you let these things happen, of course it's not going to be good for you. You will be hurt physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, any form, Rock Lee out there as well. You know, it's just gonna hurt you, and it's not gonna do your parents any good in this case, because as you can see, or if you guys have actually read, Seiko was captured by the police after she was found out by Shigeru's mom and uncle after some form of interrogation. Lesson number 3, what I understand from the story is also to make the best out of time and to use time wisely, because things can change so fast. So after the whole madness happens, we can see Seiichi actually growing up. I think it's been 20 or 30 years after he actually detached himself from his mom, not knowing where her whereabouts after that, and him just working a job at a factory. And remember Fukishi, who he actually liked, and she had that same reciprocal of love towards him. She's married now. She has kids, and one of her children actually looked like her, and that actually got Seiichi thinking like, yo, I wish, like, I can't believe this actually happened. Like, I get to see the girl that I like again, and now her daughter looks exactly like her when she was young. And I kind of felt bad for the boy because he wasn't able to act upon it. Like, he had this one period of time before he killed his cousin Shigeru, and the reason why he killed his cousin, will maybe go into that a bit later, but basically before that he spent some good time with Fukishi. They strengthened each other, they kept on giving motivation to each other. The love was for real, and it was kind of sad to see how he was not able to hold on to that love, because he actually was not able to fight the inner demons within him. So lesson number 4, and to anyone reading this, I kind of feel like from the manga we can find that one of the gems is to always make your own decision. And what I mean by this is that Seiichi has always been making these decisions based on his mother's judgment towards him. So if his mother's happy, and is she actually happy? We don't know, because she's basically psychotic. Her psychotic nature just shows in the manga that if it's actually something that benefits her, then she's happy. But if it doesn't, then she's not. So she actually gets angry towards Seiichi as well, even though Seiichi's trying to take care of her emotions and feelings. We can see this one part in the manga when she was actually about to choke her own son. And before that, when he was 3 years old, she was actually about to drop him off a cliff when he was a baby. And this was actually the flashback that Seichi had when at the start of the first chapter. So basically, he was dropped off by his mom off the cliff, and he sees the cat, and that cat actually resembled him. So it's basically a metaphor of saying that he is basically dead inside. So yeah, always remember to make decisions based on yourself. Not saying that you shouldn't take into consideration of your family or your friends or people that you really care for, you know, not meaning that you don't take into consideration of their words, but try to make, at the end of the day, the decision is all yours. God gave you this body, God gave you this heart, this mouth, everything just for you to make a decision. So when anything happens, it's your own decision. We can't say that we're puppets to someone. We can't also say that God made us puppets, because that's not true. We have our own consciousness, we have our own lives, and at the end of the day, after making our own decisions is when we should depend on God. And for the final 5th lesson that we can learn from the manga, I think, is to always appreciate people around you. So basically, after growing up, Seichi had no contact whatsoever with his mom until we might find out later, because right now he is actually in the verge of committing suicide, which is also one thing that no one should ever do, because he feels that there is no one else left in his life that cares for him. But before that, his father, Ichiro, remember? So now he's actually much older, probably around 60 or 70 years old. And he still cares for Seichi, so he still visits Seichi. He still helps around, you know, giving him some finances whenever he needs it. He still has maybe some occasional lunch or dinner with his son. And before that, we can also see Fukishi, who actually cares for Seichi. So I'm not saying that Seichi was like abandoned or like abused by everyone in his life. Of course, his mom played the most important and integral role in doing that. But we have like all of these other characters who actually still love and want the best for Seichi. So that goes into consideration for ourselves, even though in our lives we might have people who don't actually rock with us, who like us, and sometimes it can even be our own family members, and that is totally fine, because at the end of the day, it's not about changing people's perception towards you, but it's about having a different and strong mindset on yourself, so that you can actually embrace whatever comments or remarks come your way, and actually be grateful for the love that is present in your lives. And of course, that love's come in many forms. It probably comes from your wife, probably comes from your children, probably comes from your family members, maybe your brother or your sister, probably comes from your pets, maybe the plants outside there. Yeah, even the plants. So we should always learn how to be grateful for the small things that happen in our life, because there was a period in Seichi's life that there was some serenity, there was some tranquility, but of course that all got blown off for the plot. And basically that's the whole gist of the manga. But now I'm going to reveal to you why Seichi killed Shigeru. I'm just kidding, I'm not going to spoil the whole manga for you. You guys can go ahead and read that, but just note that if you guys read it, try not to read it in one sitting, because that's what I did, and it was actually during the morning, and the whole thing was just so much to absorb. So take your time reading the manga. I think that's about 119 chapters right now. It's probably gonna end soon, I'm not sure when. And yeah, do let me know what you guys think. If you guys do find this video entertaining, informative in some way, I don't know. I'm just trying to come up with new ways of sharing life lessons for myself as a self-reminder, and to you guys as well. So make sure to comment down below if you guys found this video informative, you know, if you find it fun. Also, do let me know like what other manga should I do. I do have a few things that I want to share about some other mangas that I've read. Shout out to all of the manga at the back of me right now, all of these OP characters. And yeah, do like, share, subscribe, and comment if you guys rock with this video. And inshallah, if I do have the time, I will be posting more in the future for Manganerdho analytics and reviews. Not sure, can't say how frequent I'll be doing this because you know how manga works, right? You have to actually read the whole story, get the whole plot, and from there you can actually come up with a lesson. So until then, Assalamu alaikum. So before I forget, one more thing that I want to add, just to make sure that the whole emphasis of what lesson we can learn from this manga is, it takes a very important step towards teaching us to become good parents, and hopefully for those who are yet to be parents one day to be good parents, and for those who are already parents now to continue being great parents, because we understand that parenting is a very important part of our lives, inshallah one day. For those who are still single, inshallah one day as well, because when it comes to being a parent, of course you are dealing with your children. You yourself, you've transformed from just being either a wife or a husband. You're now someone's father, you're now someone's mother, and that is a very, I would say that kind of title has many responsibilities, and it is of course given by God such a higher rank for someone that is a parent. And of course we know that mothers are, in Islam, mothers are of course viewed and also treated as people or individuals that every human being has to put very close to their heart, because we understand that the Prophet ﷺ has emphasized that we should take care of our mothers regardless of whatever happens. And sometimes I understand there are toxic parents out there, but don't let that be the reason why you yourself become biased to not taking care of your parents. Because yes, sure, they might be not the best parents out there, but at the end of the day, it's our duty as children as well, as the child, towards our parents to not be disrespectful. So we can disagree, but of course we should do it respectfully. And one more thing, kids absorb very fast. So we can see from the manga, Seichi, how he is absorbing whatever whatever the environment is throwing at him, whatever he's being exposed to at such a young age. So always remember, when you're teaching your kids something, make sure you do it with full of wisdom, teaching them the right thing, because they can absorb it just like that. Because we understand also that they are just like a white cloth. That's what our Prophet ﷺ has told us. They will become a Muslim if you teach them to become a Muslim. They will become a disbeliever if you teach them to become a disbeliever. So it's all up to us at the end of the day. So that being said, I'll be seeing all of you in the next episode.